Hey VC, I know what you're thinking. These videos, they're like buses, aren't they? You don't get one for weeks and then two turn up at the same time. This one's, I want to talk about, it's a review of two books that I've read recently. One will be this, called Simply Thrilled, the preposterous story of postcard records by Simon Goddard. But firstly, I want to talk about this, Boy About Town by Tony Fletcher. I was put onto this book by Ottavio. Guess I'm just a spud boy. He is a very similar age to me, a few months older I think. Tony Fletcher is about 2 years younger. And I'll just read what it says on the back, and you'll get a feel for what it's like. It says, Boy About Town tells the story of the best-selling author's formative years in the pre- and post-punk music scenes of London, counting down from 50 to #1, attendance at seminal gigs and encounters with musical heroes, schoolboy projects that became national success stories, the style culture of punks, mods and skinheads, and the tribal violence that enveloped them, life as a latchkey kid in a single-parent household, and weekends on the football terraces. Tony Fletcher started writing a fanzine called Jamming when he was quite young. This is really excellent. It's an excellent read, and it's a story. It's more of a biography of Tony Fletcher and his relationship with Paul Weller, who I spoke about in my previous video, when and his connection with Tracie Young. The reason why this is such a good book is because it really captures a feeling of a time from when music was based around scenes, and my interest and my group of friends' interest, it was a scene. It wasn't a scene based around bands, because we lived in a very provincial area, but it was about us getting to certain music at a certain time and listening to it constantly. And this is really detailed, and I don't understand, unless you took notes, because he never refers to a diary or anything like that, how he can remember so much about his youth. But it really does capture a time when you got your information through magazines and newspapers in particular. My group of friends, we used to get New Musical Express, Record Mirror and Sounds. I actually had New Musical Express delivered once a week with my parents' morning newspaper, and then I had to pay my dad on of a weekend out of my pocket money, or what I'd earned working in the supermarket. And then I would read it from cover to cover, all the adverts, everything in there, and there's bands I can remember like Marine Girls and Dexy's Midnight Runners and all bands like that, getting really inky, and then swapping it with my friend who'd got Record Mirror, and then we'd swap it with Sounds, and it just did, and that's how we got our information. No internet, rubbish television programmes. Old Grey Whistle Test was on, but that was a bit for older folk, really, hippies. And just listen to the radio and John Peel, and that was it. And how exciting it was when you discovered something and you kept it for yourself, and then you told your friends, and they all liked it, because we all bought the same records essentially. It was usually taped off each other, and it goes through punk, how tribal punk rock music was really. If you couldn't be a mod and like heavy rock. But some people like me used to keep the stuff that didn't want to tell. I was Denim and Deep Purple and Gill and bands like that. But at home I'd got Madness and the Jam as well. So don't let anybody know about that. And it's always been like that for me. Broad taste in music. But it's a really excellent read. Ottavio was entirely right, and it's actually a really good price as well. I found out it says published. I found this inside. I got this I think it must have been remaindered. It was quite cheap. Published in trade paperback by William Heinemann. Well, I found out now. This came out on 4th of July 2013. Actually, trade paperback means a bit bigger than an average paperback. And it talks and it gives you a really strong sense of what it felt like in London and in England really, and the music scene and what it was all about, and how it was not really corporate at all, and that you could get involved if you wanted to. So that was that book. And then I think it was in now it wasn't classic rock, I might have bought Mojo, I think, or possibly Record Collector magazine, and I read about this, and it says, "Simply Thrilled, the preposterous story of Postcard Records by Simon Goddard." And I thought, great, because one of those bands that I was furtively listening to, pretending that I didn't do back in the day, was Aztec Camera, and I've made no secret of the fact that I think Roddy Frame, who's in Aztec Camera, is the most underrated singer-songwriter of his generation in this country. So to be able to read about Postcard Records, and they're predominantly known for a series of singles. I think there are something like, I just have to remind myself again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 singles in a series called Postcard Records, The Sound of Young Scotland. And I've got a couple of them. This one is Aztec Camera's Just Like Gold, and it's got the postcard in there as well, which makes it quite valuable. We're talking probably £50–60 touch for that single. I've got one by Orange Juice, Edwyn Collins, who again you may remember, I'm a big fan, Poor Old Soul. And I have always bought Roddy Frame and Edwyn Collins output. Even recently I bought the reissue of Aztec Camera's Highland Hard Rain, which I first got for Christmas in 1983, with a little card in there signed by Edwyn. And there's an EP in there which I think might be signed by Roddy. That was really good. This is Edwyn Collins' most recent solo album, Understated. Absolutely outstanding album, really. Such a true return to form from 2013. I've got a lot of Orange Juice and Aztec Camera and Edwyn Collins product. There's a couple of reissues there. That's just called the Orange Juice, and that one's called You Can't Hide Your Love Forever. So you can imagine, when I read about this book, I was really looking forward to it. And it's an okay read. That's the disappointing thing about it. It's quite interesting to get a feel for the background of Postcard Records, but the quality of the writing, Simon Goddard is billed as, I'll read you what it says about Simon Goddard in here. Under the author, Simon Goddard first met Edwyn Collins in 1994 through their mutual fascination with 60s recording madman Joe Meek. He claims full responsibility for the failure of Edwyn's solo single If You Could Love Me, because he directed the video, but only minimal credit for the success of the Orange Juice box set Coles to Newcastle. This is his fourth book about pop music. He lives in London, and he's also written Ziggyology, Mozzipedia, which will be David Bowie, Morrissey, and Songs That Save Your Life. But I don't like to be unkind, but it reads, and there's a bit of a giveaway in the title, Simply Thrilled, the preposterous story of Postcard Records. Like somebody that's been on a creative writing course. I don't want to be rude, but it's not a very long book, and I sense that unlike Boy About Town, where there's a lot of detail, there's not much detail in this, and there are conflicting accounts of what happened. And I just wonder whether there's just not enough material to make a book, because it just is overwritten. And I did intend to try and find a section on it. If I can find it, I'll read it out to you to give you some nice photographs in it. But if I can find, here we are. This is this is the second part of it, called Act 2, Thriftless Ambition. In the sinister hangover of the 1st of January 1980, as glass agony eyes and cactus tongues flickered into sorry heads uncorked of all reason, as promises of brave new world were broken with dawn's picket line grey 1970 skies, the name of Postcard Records was still nothing more than a white-hot figment of Alan and Edwyn's quicksilver mind. Well, why not just write, at the beginning of January 1980, the name of Postcard Records was still nothing more than a white-hot figment of Alan and Edwyn's quicksilver minds, without all that other stuff. It sort of spoils the book, and the really odd thing is there's quite a lot of footnotes in there where he tries to clarify, and I'll give you an example here. Memories differ on how happy orange juice were with the recording. James Kirk recalls his immediate disappointment listening back, particularly with the strange drum overdub. I don't know who was responsible. Maybe the owner's dog mixed it. Whoever did, they ought to be shot. The footnotes are really well written, and it's just overly flowery written to the point of irritation for me. But it is interesting to know the story. So, if you're interested in Edwin Collins and Aztec Camera, and in particular Roddy Frame and those people, it's sort of an essential book. If you just want to read and you've got a passing interest, it's a bit irritating. So, two different versions, two different views on two recent reads of mine. Take care, VC, and see you soon.